Hi, welcome to Matt Holman Golf. I thought I'd take a look at Paige Spiranac today. There's not really much sort of good slow motion footage of her swing, so I think this is some that I found online. I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at her. So in terms of setup, on the right hand side, the camera angles aren't perfect. She's hitting a lower than normal shot here, so that's where we see those hands sort of overly lean forward. For a standard golf shot, we tend to see that shaft a little bit more up and down, sort of inside the thigh a little bit more. But what really stood out to me when I watched her, I really liked her through move, the way she turned through, but she had this very much, and I see this in some of the sort of tennis players I teach actually, you're going to see this movement where her sort of head, her body really sort of drops down. She really increases in flexing the right leg. I know, for instance, Sean Hogan, who I've done a lot of work with, teaches Lydia Ko. They've really tried to get her sort of stabilising more through that right hip. So she's sort of, setup-wise decent, sort of a bit twisty off that hip. I'd love that right side to stay more stable, for her right hip to stay in place a little bit more. So it's sort of centre of gravity there is drifting forward, and then her head really tends to move downwards a lot. So you can really see quite a loss of height here, and you actually see that in a lot of good swingers, and even guys like Adam Scott, Tiger Woods, a number of the lady players, Paula Creamer, but maybe not as much of that. So she's got great flexibility. I think sort of earlier in life she sort of competitive gymnast. You can see that because she's really moved down, but look how she's able still to get her arms a long way above her head there. So great lat flexibility. Most golfers, if they move down that much, their arms sort of wouldn't get far above the horizontal there. And now she's sort of going to work forward. What I like, she's very much covered there. Left hip hits the sort of transitional line, so we're in a good place. And then from here, to be honest, it's a very good sequence. She's got very good lag. Really works those hips aggressively, and then covers and keeps moving through. So now from down the line, the angle's a little bit to the left here, so everything's going to seem a little more out in front than reality. But it's a good setup, a good start to her swing. You can see sort of the club shaft gets a bit flat here, and what we're seeing most players that get the club shaft flat, actually you will see some downward movement and then sort of a little across the line. But you can really see how much that body's worked down there and forward relative to the top. Also in terms of her right leg, and again, I notice this in a lot of sort of good tennis players that play golf, because they really sort of brace into a flex right knee. Look how she really increases the flex in that knee to the top there. So maybe Jim McLean's talk about this X factor stretch with a short hip turn and a full shoulder turn, and we really see her flexibility there because the hips are very turned very little. If I'd say 20-30 degrees maximum, and she's got more than a 90-degree shoulder turn over that. So she's really sort of coiled this spring there. Again, what I like in a golf swing, the head doesn't sort of drive up and back too much here. She turns her chest incredibly well with the turning of the body. So as now she comes into delivery, she manages to keep everything very much on plane. And the club's travelling perfectly on plane now. Look how sort of open, how much turn she's got in her hips there. And great rotational speed into her finish. So, I think great dynamics. Everything is there. I definitely feel going forward it'd be interesting to see in the future if she sort of calms down this sequence. I know when I work with Claude Harmon a lot, Butch Harmon's method, he didn't like you losing too much height in the downswing or to the top, because it would narrow the swing radius. and then we can get some inconsistency there. We're having to sort of come up and out the shot a little through impact to re-establish it, and we can get some pushes and pull draws at times. But I think an incredibly powerful sequence. Talk about that sort of ground reaction force. Tights Performance Institute talk about that sort of jumping sequence, and it's really noticeable in her swing. If you look at her legs here, you can see she really sort of, it's like she's jumping. She really presses into the ground aggressively, and now there's that thrust sort of up and back, and really sort of maximising that ground reaction force. For more videos like this, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking the red button below. Please feel free to leave your comments and questions, and if you'd like a personalised review of your swing, check out my website mattholmangolf.com.